Do you feel like you're constantly chasing clients? You're not even really sure where your next one's going to come from? You're not getting the results that you truly want and desire in your business? So many out there, especially online, are focused on selling harder when in fact what they need to focus on is connecting deeper. They need to stop chasing the next sell and start focusing on building trust with others. My name is Chris Ward, and I've built a multi-six-figure business all by building trust with others. And not only have I done that for myself, I've helped over 600 people over the past decade do exactly that, build a referral-based business. And today I'm going to break down the 5 C's of connecting and building trust so you can get off the struggle bus of chasing down your next client and have your next client reaching out to you. So let's get started. People don't really care that much about your product or service. And as creators, I'm one and I get it. I understand that you're excited about your product and service. You've poured your sweat, blood, and tears. You labored over it to build it out. You're proud of it. You're excited to share it with the world. But the truth is, people don't really care that much about your product or service. They care about the transformation that they get as a result of it. But fundamentally, people do business with people that they like, know, and trust, or people that they look up to, people that they like to be like. So let's break it down. I wrote this in my notes. Most people lead with their product, but you need to start leading with yourself because nobody cares about what you sell until they know that you care about them. So one of the most practical steps that I want to share with you is that it's going to be important that you stop oversharing about your product or service, that you stop oversharing about how great you are at the thing that you do. Even though that is important, there's something that's even more important. And it's this: you're going to have to become the master of asking questions. John Maxwell wrote a book called Good Leaders Ask Great Questions. So perhaps check that out. But moving forward, it's going to be important that you be a student, not just today or this week, but really indefinitely to become a student and get better is what I mean by that, of asking questions of people, to be more interested in them than you are yourself or your product or service. A lot of times people in sales, especially, speaking for myself and my experience, is that I'm naturally chatty. I like to share. On the disc profile, I'm a high I, I'm extroverted. I get energy from being around others. And I'm self-aware enough to know that my tendency is to overshare, to talk too much. So one of the things that you're gonna have to do is to connect. That's that first C. The first C is to connect. In order to better connect with others, you're gonna have to be a better question asker. Another practical tip is that you're going to have to listen more than you talk. It's that analogy that you probably heard before, that you have 2 ears and 1 mouth, and that's for a reason by God. That's the sign from God that listen twice as much as you talk. And Tony Robbins is really good about building rapport. Building rapport, by the way, is another word for trust. Have you ever noticed that some people have a way of building trust with others quicker than others? Meaning that sometimes people, they don't really come across that trustworthy. So it's like, okay, what is it that somebody does that helps them build trust quicker than others? I remember about 2010, 2011, I was I was the top listing agent at the real estate office, specifically with corporate relocations. And what that means is that they would always send myself and at least 1 or 2 other agents out for the homeowner to interview. And then they would pick the one that they wanted to do business with. And so I remember out of the 4 or 5 years I was on the relocation team, there was one deal that I lost where they chose another agent than myself. And so why is that important? It's important because you you have to build rapport or trust with people. Because ultimately, as I say, people do business with people they trust. You could post all day long about jump into your course, click on the free ebook, give away all the products or service, but people are not going to pay you until they trust you. One of the ways that people trust you is that it's developed and you could develop it quickly. It's called building rapport. One of the ways you could do that is you could find common ground. Now, I grew up in Seattle, Washington, and so my temptation is that I see a photo of Seattle in somebody's house or Pike Place Market in Seattle or something like that, I could get into storytelling mode and see that photo, and that could be common ground. It's that thing that you have in common with others. But here's the pro tip. Don't just go on. I will lose with them if I go on about Seattle and all the wonderful memories. What I like to say is something like this. Hey, I grew up in Seattle. I could appreciate that photo. Tell me about your experience in Seattle. I let them know, like, hey, I connect with you about Seattle or whatever that common ground is. Maybe it's a hobby. Maybe it's having kids or not having kids or pets or hobbies. Once you find that common ground, ask them to share about that. Meaning, don't overshare about yourself. Just ask them to share about them and their experience. Because remember, people want to do business with people that they like, know, and trust. So this is that process of building trust with people. So find that common ground. By the way, whenever you meet with somebody, and I know we're talking about, you could be watching this video and maybe you have an online consulting business. Well, it's okay. This is relevant for you. So say you're a coach or you're a real estate agent, or you have some type of a business where you meet with people. Another thing that you can do. So let's do a quick recap. Number one, become a better asker of questions. Be self-aware. Remember, you have 2 ears and 1 mouth. That's your reminder from God. That's my belief. To listen twice as much at least as you talk. Find common ground, but don't overshare. Ask them to share about their experiences. And then also make it a point not to just ask questions in order to win them over. Actually pay attention to what they say. Remember bits and pieces of what they say, and you can actually take notes on this one. So a lot of times when I meet with somebody, whether it's online or in person, I'll actually bring my iPad or a journal. I'll bring something like this to write with, and I'll write down key things that will help me remember part of what they share. Why do I do that? Well, for 2 reasons. Number one, it helps me remember. I don't have to put all the pressure on myself to keep everything in my mind, right? Because I meet with multiple people, and I'm sure you do as well. Number 2 is that it sends the message of what they're saying is important to you. And then, so you can remember, take notes on what they say, remember bits and pieces. And then also a pro tip is you could repeat back to them some of what they shared. That's effective communication, where you repeat back some of what they said. It lets them know that you're paying attention and you hear them. And then you could also ask other clarifying questions to help unpack more of what they're attempting to tell you to make sure that you understand them. So the first C is going to be make it a point to connect by by listening, asking questions, paying attention to them, and getting into the next C, because the first C, the connection, that alone, it's not enough, because people need to know that you actually care about them, not just getting a check and getting into their wallet. So let's continue to unpack this as we dive into the next C. By the way, have you ever heard of the term commission breath? This is a term that we use all the time in the real estate industry. Maybe you've experienced this with someone. It's where like the used car salesman is more excited about selling you the car than you are buying it. Have you ever had that happen before? It's the overeager salesperson where they're more excited than you. That's where it can come off kind of slimy and pushy, where it seems like they may have commission breath, meaning they're just excited to try to get their next commission check or to make the sell. Well, we don't want to do that to people. Too many people are thinking, how do I close the deal? Instead of, how do I actually help this person? How do I actually serve and help this person? So it's important that you have a servant's mindset more than just trying to make the sell to make the next check. How do you do that? I'm glad you asked. You want to add value first. That means be helpful of them. And maybe it has nothing to do with your product or your service. So, for example, I was making some phone calls yesterday and I was sharing with the person, hey, I know so many people that are great at what they do, that are in business, that they may be, I have a great lawyer, I have a great doctor. Like if there's other professionals that you need contact with at any point, I'm here for you. I could help you with that. I remember a few years ago, it was one of the winter months, and I was talking on the phone to a past client of mine. His name is Brian. And Brian mentioned, he said, I could tell he was getting a little bit nervous, like his voice was a little bit cracky. Like I could sense the anxiousness in his voice. And he goes, Chris, I have a question for you. And I could tell he's being real serious. I'm like, yeah, what's up, man? And he said, do you happen to have a recommendation for a great marriage counselor? I'm like, oh yeah, 100%. I'll connect you to Sheila because she was my go-to at that time. Now I'd recommend Jonathan. And yet I said, yeah, I'd be glad to help you. So my point is that one of the ways that you could add value to others is you could be a connector of people. By the way, that relieves you from maybe the feeling that I had for so many years that I need to be an expert in all these different areas. No, you don't need to be an expert other than the area that you're already an expert in. You just need to be connected to other people that are experts at their thing and make connections for people. So I said all that to say that one of the ways that you could add value to people is connect them to other great people that can help them out. Another thing is solve a problem for them. Demonstrate your coaching or your consulting ability to add value, to be helpful of them. Like, don't just talk about it, help them experience it, meaning that you help them before they pay you. So help them get a small win. Find a way to help them ever before they write you a check. Ask about their life, not just their business or the transaction. I was on a consulting appointment with the gentleman that I coached yesterday, and I was telling him that we were going through a slide deck, and he was like, Chris, when do we get to the machine, my core product? And I said, yeah, we get to that, but it's 90% all about helping them and solving their challenges and giving away the gold, meaning not gatekeep, give away all the helpful information. And then at the very end, you share with them like, hey, if you're interested, this may be helpful to you. You share your product just a little bit and you're helpful a lot. So it's like, okay, what's the ratio? I would say this, it's 90% helping and 10% making the offer. Like your whole presentation should not be about making your offer. You make the offer at some point, but you lead with so much value. And then also, okay, so you ask about their life, not just for their business. And then you follow up, meaning that you stay in touch even when they're not ready to buy right now. By the way, sometimes in sales, it's easy to get discouraged when people tell you no. I like to reframe that. Reframing meaning just think differently about that. If they tell me no, it's not no forever. It's just no right now. So you want to have a plan to systematically stay in touch and follow up with them. And I wrote down a verse in my notes that I found helpful. And it's this. It's Paul in the book of Philippians. It's chapter 2, verse 3. And he says this, do nothing out of selfish ambition or vain or conceit. So don't be selfish, but rather in humility, value others even above yourself. So don't do anything out of selfish ambition, but in humility, actually value to others. What's one of the way that you demonstrate humility and valuing others? In my opinion, it's you add value intentionally to others. So how do you add value intentionally to others? I'm glad you asked. You do that by having eyes to see and ears to hear for opportunities to help people and their problems that they're having. Okay, so that second C, now that we unpack that, the first one, to recap, is connect. Number two, people have to, not only do you have to connect with people and build trust, people have to know that you genuinely care more about them than even the great product or service that you have to offer. Let's dive into the third C. Says, I wrote this in my notes, trust requires proof. You have to show that you could help them, not just tell about it. I'm from Missouri, and on our license plate in Missouri, my Missouri folks and Kansas folks, you guys know this already, the local people, it says the show me state. So with value, you can't just talk about how great you are at what you do and how great your product is. People need to see what I refer to as proof of success. They need to see the videos. They need to hear the testimonials. Those are so powerful. So think about the people that you've had the pleasure to serve up until this point in your business. Are you capturing the testimonies? Are you getting them in writing? Are you getting them in video format? And if so, how are you sharing those online or systematically in a way to get them in front of your target audience, the people that you desire to work with? You can't be what we call a secret agent in real estate. Secret agent is the person that's great at what they do, but nobody knows about them. They're the best kept in secret. They're the best kept secret in town. You can't be the best kept secret, meaning you're good at what you do. Intentionally capture the moments of you serving people where they're your raving fans. Capture those and share them intentionally. So anyone could say they're good, but words are cheap. People need evidence. So here's some practical steps. Number one, share your results. Share the outcomes that you've helped people get. Sometimes, especially if somebody's launching a business, or like, Chris, I'm launching the business. I don't have any testimonials yet. Okay, great. What did you do prior? Were you good at what you did prior? You probably were. And can you get testimonials that are character qualities testimonials? So for example, someone could say, oh, my friend Brian, or here, somebody can give a testimonial. Let's play along with me now. So let's say your name is Brian, and you could go to somebody that knows you, and they could say, Brian is prompt, he's always on time, he's trustworthy, and if he says that he's going to be somewhere at 9, you could rest assured Brian is going to be there on time, prepared, ready to go. Do you see how that character testimonial, even though it's not specific to maybe the new business that you now have or that you're launching, that character testimonial can go a long way with people? So my point is you may not have all the testimonials specific to your current business. That's okay. Go back and ask trusted family members and friends and past clients, even from other industries, to give character testimonials. Let others speak on your behalf. You can share your own story, by the way. You could share wins that you've helped other people with, right? So for example, on chriswardcoaching.com, I have a testimonial from a lady named Carla who shared with me that before I met her, she was a corporate executive at Sprint. Sprint, now it's T-Mobile or whatever, T-Mobile and Sprint. She was in corporate America, succeeding at a high level, great at what she did, and was in that role for many years. And all of a sudden, she got fired. And she used that opportunity as the sign from God to indicate now's the time to launch the business she's been dreaming about launching for herself. And so I worked with her for several weeks and her launching her business and building a referral-based business. And now I just saw that she was in a local newspaper. I just saw that on Facebook that it actually wasn't a newspaper, it was a magazine. Just saw that this morning. So shout out to you, Carla. Congratulations on your continued success in what you do, because her and I started working together back in 2020. So that's been 6 years ago already. So do you see what I did there? I could see her face, I could see her smile, I could think back of where she was when she met and how many people she's served now and how she's thriving in her business. I'm able to share with you out of the overflow of somebody that I actually served. So recap, you can go back, you could ask past clients, family and friends for testimonials, have others share about how great you are at what you do, or you yourself, you could share a story about the person that you helped have the transformation that you helped them achieve. You could share your own story for that matter. You can let your track record speak for you. That's the credibility piece. That, by the way, that's that third C, is credibility. The first C was to connect. Number 2 is to demonstrate that you genuinely care about them. The third C, I'm going to give it to you now since we discussed it, it's credibility. This is the proof. This is the evidence that you are great at what you do. I did that earlier in this video. I mentioned that over the past 10 years, I've had the pleasure to coach and consult over 600 people. Why am I doing that? The goal is to establish credibility, that I'm not some person that says, oh, YouTube's trendy now, so I'm just going to hop on YouTube as a brand new coach and try to figure this out. There's nothing wrong with that. God bless them. But I could speak to my experience. I'm not a new coach. I've been a coach and consultant professionally over 10 years now. It's one of the things that I do best, and I'm leveraging that to set myself apart, not to be better, but set myself apart from others. So you can share your proof of success in testimonials you could share, and in scripture. I love what it says in the book of Proverbs. It's verse 22, chapter 22, verse 1, if you want to check it out. And it says this: a good name is more desirable than great riches. To be esteemed is better than silver or gold. What's my point? Credibility is so important. And remember, when it comes to personal brand, that's the story that comes to mind when people think of you. And so you want part of your story that comes to people's mind to be, wow, that person is credible. They've helped others and they're so good at what they do. So this next one is a big deal. It's something that will completely set you apart when you choose to nail this one. And don't mistake what I'm about to say as me telling you that you need to be perfect, because there was only one perfect person and people even killed him. I'm talking about Jesus, right? So please do not mistake what I'm about to say. Don't hear me say you need to be perfect, because that's not realistic. Trust isn't built on one interaction. Meaning, just because of that one post, that one testimonial, that one video that you put, that one ebook, that one podcast, that's not what establishes trust. Trust is not built in just one interaction. It's built through repeated, keyword repeated, or continued, or consistent, repeated presence over time. Familiarity, consistency creates trust. So the fourth C, I'm going to give it to you now. The fourth C is you're going to have to be consistent. Not perfect, but consistent. Most people give up too soon. They post once, they follow up once, and if somebody's not ready, willing, and able to buy right then, they ghost them. They stop talking to them, and at the end of the day, they wonder why they're not getting clients. Well, nobody trusts you. You can't show up and then ghost people when they don't buy from you. The bottom line is, trust takes time. And I look at my own life and my own business. This is an area where it's like, sure, there's some ways to accelerate trust with others, but at the end of the day, everybody's unique. Everybody's different. Everybody's going to move at their own pace. One of the ways that you build trust with people is you show up consistently over time. It's one of the things that I like about what my coach Omar El Khatori has helped me, Chris, is to this. Chris, have a weekly long format podcast And like you're tuning into that right now. Why am I having a weekly long format podcast? It's not because I don't have anything better to do. It's because, number one, I have some experience and I desire to help you accelerate the results that you get so you don't have to learn everything the hard way like I did in some areas. And the bottom line is you have to show up consistently over time. It's gradually and then suddenly. And it's not going to be just one thing you do. It's all of those small things that you do over time. So most people give up too soon. They follow up once, they show up once, they do one episode, and they quit, and they say, Chris, it doesn't work. No, you need to commit to being consistent over time. I was coaching somebody yesterday about paid ads. He mentioned that he did a paid ad. And I said, great. How about a paid ad for the next 12 months? Don't just send the postcard this week or for the next few weeks or do the paid ad today or for the next few weeks. No, have a strategy in your business, meaning that you're going to commit to doing that activity for the next 12 months. So for my podcast channel, I used to say that you can count on me for showing up on YouTube the next 10 years. Well, that's been, this is my 3rd year. So I guess I have 7 more years to go. My point is you want to show up consistently. So here's how to break that. I want to break that down in some practical steps for you. Number one, whatever you're doing, you want to do that consistently. So if you're posting on stories or Instagram, whatever your platform is, don't post randomly and sporadically. Post consistently. Have a rhythm, same time, same place. Talk about similar things. And then follow up. Don't disappear. Don't ghost people. That breaks trust. That does not build trust, especially with me. So don't disappear. Don't ghost people. By the way, no communication is communication. Not responding to the text message is sending a message, even if you didn't type up the message. So be aware you're always sending a message. Are you being intentional about it? Or are you being not intentional? Okay, so follow up. Stay in the world. This is what I refer to as top of mind. I refer to it also as omnipresent, meaning people are seeing you on Facebook. People are seeing you maybe in real life in the city. The point is you want to have a variety of ways that you stay in touch with your people. Variety of method is what I mean by that. And be patient. Trust compounds over time. Great businesses are built daily, not in a day. You're going to have to be patient. Oh, I just mentioned this verse to my wife, Ashley, early this morning. It's from Galatians chapter 6, verse 9. Some of you really need to hear this because you're on the verge of giving up. And maybe it's not even in your business. Maybe it's in your marriage. Maybe it's in a relationship or in the area of your finances. You just feel like you're getting discouraged and you're ready to throw in the towel and give up because it doesn't look like it's working. In Galatians chapter 6, verse 9, Paul says this, do not become weary, do not become tired in doing good. For in proper time, another translation, I love it, says in due season, your time is going to come if you will reap a harvest if you do not give up. I'm going to read it again. Do not grow weary in doing good. For at the proper time, you will reap a harvest if you do not give up. That's a word for somebody right there. So the 4th C is consistency. Remember, it's not being perfect, it's being consistent. The 5th C, let's dive into it because this is the final one. The fastest way to build trust is to make a promise and keep it. The fastest way to build trust is to make a promise and then keep it, to be a promise keeper. If that's the quickest way to trust, what do you think, if that's the quickest way to build trust, what do you think the quickest way to break trust is? It's the opposite. Law of polarity. There's 2 sides of everything. Make promises and keep them. Break promises and break the trust. The fastest way to lose it is to break the promise. People overpromise and underdeliver They say they'll call you back or text you back, and then they don't. And what does that do? It breaks the trust. They say they'll send something over, they'll email it, and then they forget. Small broken promises destroy trust fast. So what's another one of the ways that you could build trust with others? You honor your commitments. The 5th C, commitment. You honor your commitments. So, some practical steps. Make it a point to under-promise and over-deliver. The first person that I ever fired in business about 8 or 9 years ago, it was so challenging for me. And it was challenging because he was one of my best friends. And I actually fired him because he kept over-promising and under-delivering to clients. He kept running late, and he kept telling people he would be there and he wouldn't show up, or he would do this and he didn't. And I kept getting that feedback. And after a handful of conversations and trying to reset expectations and making sure we're on the same page, it became clear to me we're not a good fit to be in business together, because my business is built on the foundation of trust. And so I could not have another team member as charismatic and as great as he was at some things. I couldn't have him on the team being in business with him if he was continually making commitments, making promises and not keeping them. And so this is one of those things where you want to have grace with others, grace with yourself. Nobody's perfect. And I would say if you make a promise and you drop the ball, own your mess. Shout out to Matt. I love Matt. He's a great guy. Matt Hargrove. And he says this: if it happens once, it's a accident. If it happens twice, it's a coincidence. If it happens 3 times, it's a pattern. So it's like, why do I share that with you? Number one, give people the benefit of the doubt. Give them some grace. Give them some mercy, right? So if it happens once, point it out, reset the standard. Number 2, if it happens twice, bring it to their attention, talk about it again. That could be coincidence, but if it happens 3 or more times, that's a pattern. That's flowing from who they are. And now you get to decide, are you going to continue to be in business with them? Is that going to be your standard? And remember, all leadership starts with self-leadership. So I went external about a past team member, business partner. I need to look in the mirror and say, okay, how am I at keeping my commitments? Because that ultimately, it's the law of the lid John Maxwell talks about, that it's up to the leader of the organization to withhold the standard, and leadership always starts with oneself. So go inside before you go outside. So make it a point to under-promise and over-deliver. Do what you say every single time, as much as it depends on you. If you say you're going to do it, make it a point to do it. Follow through even on the small things. That's how you build trust. That's where the magic happens. And if you can't deliver, communicate early, be proactive, and let them know. Stay in communication. Let your yes be yes and your no be no, is what it says in the book of Matthew. So here's what I want you to remember when it's all said and done today. Nobody cares about your product as much as you do, as great as it is, and I know it's good. Nobody cares about your service that you provide as much as you do. They care about whether or not they can trust you. Trust is not about selling harder. It's about connecting deeper. So remember to connect, build a relationship first. Care, show them that you're just not after the next dollar from them. Credibility, prove that you help people and that you could deliver on your promises. Consistency, keep showing up day after day, week after week, year after year. And commitment in all things, do what you say you're going to do. Connection opens the door, and commitment keeps it open. By the way, I want to make you an offer. If you're wondering on that follow-up piece, how do you systematically stay in touch with people over time? I want to share with you the plan that I've used the past decade in my business. It's the 109 touch plan comment 109 in the comments or wherever you're watching or listening to this podcast, and I'll share the link so you could have that at no cost. So I'm going to leave you with this. If you build trust first, you won't have to chase sales. They'll come to you. We'll see you next time.